Throughout the 1850s, the gold rush had swept Australia, and the areas of current New South Wales and Victoria were quickly teeming with hopeful prospectors. Around the time of its separation from New South Wales, the new colony of Queensland had begun its own gold mining expeditions, most notably at the town of Gympie in 1867. In the 1860s, the regions surrounding Brisbane were investigated for gold prospection opportunities. Several of those were around the Gap. 2 mining sites were established, one atop Mount Cootha and one at the foot of Mount Nebo where Bellbird Grove is located today.
There used to be a lot of gold prospecting in the creek. They'd put the sand in and shake it, and they did get quite a lot of stuff out of it. But if you go up Bellbird Grove, which is a little bit further up out of the Gap, and over on Fursman Scrub beyond the reservoir, you'll find holes and things like that for digging. Down in down Bennett Road and up that hill there, which is the last hill on the side of the north, there's lots of little mines on that, up and down that mountain. Probably no bigger than this room, some even smaller. If you go up there after a fire, you'll see where stones have been shaped and cut into blocks, and they're still there because they were never shifted. Stones from there ended up in City Hall basement and various buildings around town.
These early attempts were unsuccessful, intermittently reoccurring in the 1930s and the 1950s, but yielded few results. Today, both the abandoned mines in Mount Cootha and Mount Nebo can still be seen. These are but a few remnants of an attempt to establish a gold mining industry near Brisbane. However, during the same time as the Gap's search for gold, the area was to undergo a more successful prospection for something arguably more valuable. Just nearby Walton Bridge is a small monument by a tree at the end of Pender Street. This monument pays tribute to one Joseph Gridley, who owned a plot of land in the area and operated a local tavern in the Gap called the Half Moon Inn. This tavern would be the local watering hole for the construction of a much larger watering hole and one of the Gap's most significant contributions to the Greater Brisbane area, the Enoggera Dam. In the early days of Brisbane's European settlement, water was supplied from a single stream that ran from Normanby all the way down to where Eagle Street Pier is located today. This stream was named Wheat Creek.
Well, when Brisbane, in December 1859, when the only water supply for Brisbane was from Wheat Creek, which is the creek that runs around from the back of Victoria Park around through the city. And then it drained out through Creek Street, hence the reason Creek Street. It had people doing the washing in it, animals drinking, animals doing all sorts of things. And in about 1862, 63, Petrie, the engineer in Brisbane here, he put a tank up in where Tank Street is now and sort of filtered the water so that the settlers could get pure water or drinking water. And it was sold by the bucketful, so I don't know what the price was. However, the new council, when they met, or the municipal council, they then decided that they would have to find a water place. I understand that they looked at 5 sites. One was on the Kedron Brook. Another one was at the back over there in Barden. That's about the only ones I know, but the most favoured site was at the western end of the Gap.
In 1864, having recently designed a water reticulation system in Victoria, civil engineer Joseph Brady was brought to Queensland to design the new dam. Construction was approved in May that year and commenced in August. Preparation took 18 months to clear the heavily forested area. The land had been owned by Moses Adset and was adjoining Peyton's land in the south. As for the name, Enoggera is derived from the Turrbal word Yoggera, which translates to song and dance. Due to a spelling error of the name Yoggera on a map, the name eventually stuck. The original dam was built with a 125,000 cubic yard earth bank with a clay core, standing at 65 feet high at over 1,100 feet long. If the dam overflowed, water would spill out over the embankment and move back into nearby Enoggera Creek. All work on the dam was done by hand, employing many local masons, blacksmiths, and labourers.
Different people who lived in the gap worked there. There was a number of actual builders. Reading in the newspaper of 1864, they were calling for stonemasons and ordinary workers and blacksmiths. Now, a chap called George Cooper, he was in charge of the workers, and he camped his men at the bottom of Cooper's Camp Road down below Ashgrove. That's why it's called Cooper's Camp Road, which joins Barton up with the gap. Now, the interesting thing is because halfway between his camp and the reservoir, the gap got one of the very, very first hotels in Brisbane built. The men would go there after work and have their beers, nails and wines and what have you. And it only operated for 2 or 3 years because once the reservoir was finished, there really weren't that many people in the gap to warrant the keeping of a hotel.
Building the dam, however, was not without its problems. The original £50,000 budget soon ballooned to £65,000, and the demand for water in Brisbane was increasing just as rapidly.
During its building, a lot of it got washed away a number of times with very heavy floods, and that's the reason why the area below the reservoir has got such beautiful alluvial soil, or had a lot of alluvial soil. Here at the gap we had 2 tunnels. There's 2 tunnels that the water mains go through. One is up above School Road to the west there, and the other one is just after School Road. It goes straight through under where Ashgrove Park Estate is now. Had it have kept following the lay of the Enoggera Creek around, would have had about another 2 or 3 k's of pipe laying required. So it was probably much cheaper to go straight through the...
Finally, in March of 1866, Brisbane's new drinking water supply was built. Water was turned on in the Queen Street of August that year, and by 1870, Brisbane residents by the thousands were served by the Enoggera Dam. Besides its utility to the residents of Brisbane, the Enoggera Dam site quickly became a favoured recreational spot for locals. Locals could enjoy a picnic on the grass or go for a paddle in the dam itself during a hot summer's day. Enoggera Dam, together with the nearby Gold Creek Reservoir and later the Somerset Dam, continued acting as Brisbane's water supply for many decades. After the 1974 floods ravaged Brisbane, the dam wall was upgraded and raised to include a concrete spillway in 1976.
It's seen its many floods, and it's been lifted and raised, and it still provides the purest water, I think, in Brisbane. But you can't get it these days. Yeah.
Over time, more dams have been built around southeast Queensland, catering for the area's growing water needs. But the Enoggera Dam has the distinction of being the first major dam built in Queensland, and also the second of its kind ever built in Australia. The dam was decommissioned in 2003, but was brought back into service in 2011 during an extended drought period. Back in retirement, Enoggera is now a recreational area alongside the nearby Walkabout Creek Wildlife Centre and the recently built Gap Beach. To this day, residents from all over Brisbane and beyond come to visit Enoggera Dam to enjoy its breathtaking charm. But its legacy should never be forgotten, a legacy of servitude, of the most precious commodity when it was needed the most.